this was taking on him. We saw how emotionally heartbreaking this was for him. And in particular, he received an award from the Savannah State Southern Regional Press Institute February of this year, so this past February. As a matter of fact, he was inducted into the Southern Regional Press Institute, and for shorthand purposes, I'll call it what we call the conference, SRPI. He was inducted into the SRPI Hall of Fame, and the first person who he went to share that moment with was his mother, showing her his award, and, you know, he detailed everything in a post on Facebook, and he also mentioned there, and I just sat at her bedside and rubbed her hand, and I just cried, because as much as I wanted to share this moment with her, I know that she's not in her right mind, and I know that she may not understand what's going on right now, and it hurts, because this is one of the biggest achievements of my career, and I can't celebrate this the way with my mom that I want to, because of what it is that she's battling.
Right.
So we saw the toll that this was taking on him, and I can only imagine the toll that this was taking on him in the past few weeks and months leading up to her passing. I can only imagine the bigger toll that was taking, because at that point, he and his family knew it's only a matter of time now. The days are really counting down, and it's like they're preparing themselves to have to go through this transition of her physically no longer being there with him, being there with them rather. And while you're happy that they're no longer going to be suffering, you're very sad that they're no longer going to be there with you at all either. So I definitely understand what you're saying when you say how emotional all of this can be for someone to have to deal with.
Right.
Not just the person who's battling the illness themselves, but their loved ones who are surrounded around them.
Right.
Because it's truly something. I've experienced this one time in my life. I've experienced this with one of my older relatives who passed away in 2013. It was an uncle of mine. And when we walked into his house one day, and he didn't know who we were, and he couldn't remember our birthdays, and he couldn't remember what we usually have for a Sunday dinner, that was pretty alarming. And I saw that when I was 16 years old, and it just really made me think, like, something just is not right here. Now, at the time, I didn't really understand what the specifics of dementia were. So, of course, I went to educate myself on that. And it's like you said, it's a very heartbreaking and an emotional battle to sit there and have to watch anyone go through any terminal illness, that is, whether it's dementia, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's cancer, whether it's terminal heart disease, no matter what it is. It's an emotional thing to have to sit there and watch somebody who you love and you deeply care about have to go through that, especially when they're not the person that you remember them to be.
Right.
It hurts.
Okay. Well said. Well said. So
now I'll speak on suicide in particular itself and why I really wanted to bring this topic up, because yesterday as I was preparing for work, I was able to get on Facebook, and one of the first things I saw is one of my classmates from Savannah State. He passed away, and it actually comes to find out that he committed suicide.
Okay.
So it was a very rough day for us in the Savannah State community yesterday, because, and this is why I opened this entire topic by saying depression has no name and depression has no face. Because, Scott, when I tell you that this was one of the most positive, jovial, and upbeat people that I've ever met in my life, and to find out that this is how his life ended, it was very shocking. It was very surprising, and it was very hurtful, because no one saw the signs of this coming.
Right.
So you never know the battle that someone's battling. And, you know, I bring up this topic today, and let me also say condolences to David Crowley's family. That's his name, David Crowley. Condolences to him, and, you know, condolences to everybody who is feeling the impact of his loss. I know that I was feeling it when I was sitting there at work yesterday. That was a very difficult day to have to sit there and go through, but, you know, we were able to get through that. And I'm doing better with it today. And I'm just going to continue to focus on the positive memories that I had with David during my time that I was able to be with him here on this earth.
Right.
I'm going to say this right now, because everybody battles a form of depression no age limit in particular, but I want to address the young audience. And I want to address the young audience in particular because this is my generation that I'm speaking about, especially the people who are currently in college or may have recently graduated from college, and they're struggling with trying to find out what it is that's next. Not just career-wise, because that is one of the biggest, most misunderstood things when it comes to post-graduation depression for recent college graduates.
Right.
Everyone's under this impression, or most people anyway, that this is a battle that is only about, am I going to be set for my career? Am I going to have a start in my career when I get my degree and walk across the stage?
Right.
And it's a whole lot bigger than that. It's a lot more than a career. It's also, how do you adjust to life without seeing people who you have saw for the better part of 4 years now, more than likely?
Right.
How do you adjust to that life now more than anything? How do you adjust to not seeing familiar faces every single day? How do you adjust to not being on that college campus throughout the months that you were there, the years that you were there? It's a whole new transition, and there is no guidebook, there is no playbook on how to get you ready for it.
Right.
That's the thing about it that's really the battle to deal with there. But I bring all of this up because I simply just want to say this to everyone out there. You are important and you matter, and even though life can be tough at times, life can be a struggle, life can be a battle, we have to find ways to combat the things that it is that we're missing in our lives.
Right.
Whether it's people, whether it's activities, whether it's things, we have to find other ways to keep ourselves happy. And
Right.
it's okay to talk to people. I'm saying this in particular to two different demographics right now. I'm saying this to men in general, but I'm saying this to black people as well. I'm really addressing men in the black community when I say this, because there is this sense that there is it's a weakness when you show your emotions or when you decide to open up to people. And, you know, I went on my Instagram story yesterday, Scott, and I just posted a long message on there, and I'll briefly describe what it is that I said there. I simply just said, you know, check on people, be nice to people, tell people you love them, tell people that they matter, go visit with people when you can, allow people to open up to you, let them know that it's okay to talk about it,
Right.
it's okay to cry about it, because you don't know what you're doing when you allow people to actually do that.
Right.
We need to get out of this mindset, especially as men. And on another spot, I'm speaking for the black community when I say this as well, because it's a huge struggle in our community for us to talk and address our mental health. I'm not saying that that's not a problem for other demographics and other races as well, but I can only speak for my race in particular because of the things that it is that I see on a day-to-day basis. It's not a weakness for us to open up and talk about the things that we go through. It's not a weakness for us to vent to people. It's not a weakness for us to show emotion and to shed tears. That is a form of healing. And we may just be saving each other's lives when we do
Right.
things like that, when we allow ourselves to open up like that, and when we allow others to open up to us. We truly have to do a better job simply as people, as just being there for one another.
Right.
And just letting everyone know that, hey, I'm here for you. I care for you. I love you. There is
Right.
nothing wrong with saying those words to people, because it's better for you to say those words to people while they're here than having to go to someone's funeral, whether they're being cremated or whether they're in a casket or whether you're going to visit their headstone, and then you're there saying those words, I love you, and you're saying it with tears in your eyes and a lot of regret and a lot of sorrow because you didn't say those things to those people when they were here.
Right.
The floor is yours.
Well, okay, you got a loaded one. Okay, number one, many years ago when I was living in Arizona, I actually attempted to do it and nearly pulled it off, taking too many sleeping pills. I won't deny the fact that through the years I've probably tried it a couple of other times. So I'm here to talk about it. Not afraid to mention it. Not afraid to admit it. But it's easier said than done. Many years ago, my first brush with it was watching former actor Freddie Prinze put a bullet in his head That was the first time I had heard of it. I had a step-grandfather that killed himself by taking too many pills. Okay. And, of course, earlier in the year, on the Sports Exchange, there was a young lady in Detroit, named Jessica Starr, who did it. And, of course, we all know about Robin Williams. All I can say is easier said than done when it comes to this sort of thing. It really is. Because nobody knows that when the walls are caving in on you, that you don't want to burden other people. And, that's just how life is. I mean, whether it's the right thing to do is another story. You have to hope and pray that you have a good support system that knows what you're all about to probably circumvent this. But they're not fortune tellers. They don't have crystal balls in front of them. So, I definitely can appreciate it. I'm glad that you brought this message to the forefront. And I have a feeling we'll be talking about it down the road. I can assure you as time goes on, because I think it's something that needs a lot more repetition. Okay. But I've done it. Have you ever considered it yourself?
No, I have not, but I know people who have, and I have been in a state of depression before. And, I have to go ahead and say this right now. Here on The Real and the Rare, of course, we joke around, we get animated, we have fun with our sports conversations. And, of course, I'm known as a sports pundit for the most part.
Right.
But the part that I want people to understand the most about me here, that I pride myself on more than anything, I pride myself on being able to help someone, no matter who it is, more than anything that I do in my life.
Right.
The sports talk, the sports debate, you strip all of that away, and what else do you have? You see, we have to address our character, just who we are as people as well. And I'm not going to sit here and call people who commit suicide selfish. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Because I know people say things like that. I'm not going to do that because we don't know the battles that those people were fighting. We don't know the impact it was having.
Right.
What it may have possibly seemed small to us may have been gigantic for them.
Right.
And here's what I'll say right now. Ask someone if you can vent to them.
Right.
That is the appropriate thing to do there. But if you have to also seek out a therapist, that's something I know people don't necessarily like to do as well, especially men and people in the black community.
Right.
It's okay to go to therapy and to talk about these things that are bothering you. Sometimes we are depressed by things, and we don't even know what it is that we are depressed by.
Well, let me say this.
And that's one of the toughest battles.
Let me say this. When I attempted to do in Arizona, my reasons were I had an ex-wife who second-guessed everything I did. My best wasn't good enough. I said, you know what? I don't need to be bothered with this. Nobody needs to be second-guessed all the time, number one. Number two, I'll never forget a situation growing up as a kid where, and I still actually talk to this lady who was in my community where her brother was like 17, 18 years old, locked himself up in a garage, and left the car running, carbon monoxide. That's all she wrote. That was it. And I'm still in touch with this person. She lives in North Carolina. Really, what a sweetheart. Great family. And the father was a counselor over at a high school, and they're great model citizens in the community. So, it's definitely something that has to be addressed. And but you don't know. Nobody knows whether are they financial? Are they? Because a lot of times they are. Do you feel that your significant other is driving you so much to the back to a point where you feel like you want to get away no matter what? You don't know. Again, there's so many extenuating circumstances that nobody's going to justify whether it's right or not. But nobody has an MRI that lets you know what's going on in your mind in terms of how you feel emotionally. I don't think there's any kind of medicine that you have along those lines. You can only anticipate and wonder what the signals really are, and it's hard to tell you. So, yeah, I'm glad that we're talking about this. I really am. And I think that, but geez, my step-grandfather did it, and he was 70 years of age. His reasons were, I worked so hard to retire. Unfortunately, my grandma Sophie, the greatest woman I've ever known, didn't like to travel, and he did, and he wasn't content taking care of his my great-grandparents anymore. He wanted to travel. That's what he worked so hard to do. And when he couldn't do it, that was the only mechanism. So when you're dealing with the old unknown, I don't care what skin color you are, Xavier, whether you're brown or